Yeah, I just finished butchering a 200-pound Katahdin ram, and now it's time to put it in the fridge for long-term storage. But this isn't really a typical refrigerator. I've bought a freezer unit that I've converted with a remote thermostat that you can get at a brewery store. And this has an adjustable dial on it where you can actually fine-tune the temperature measurements, and I try to keep it above freezing, and right now it's at 37 degrees Fahrenheit and about 56 degrees humidity, which is pretty good for hanging and aging meat. You know, it's practically converted a refrigerator into a meat locker, and this is what I've used, and it's taken a lot of fine-tuning and adjustments over the years to find something that works where I can hang animals and preserve them for as long as I need to. You know, typically you think if you put meat in a refrigerator, after a week or two it'll start to turn sour. But if you actually hang a meat in the open air in a refrigerator like this, you can keep it for months and it will just dry age. And as long as the humidity's low enough and the temperature's low enough, the meat will preserve and it will never go rotten. And up at the top I keep some of my leftovers, and that's aged meat from previous animals. So this one's been in here for over a couple of months, and you can see how it's dried, but there's no evidence of rot, and it's not foul smelling. It actually has a slightly pleasant aged meat taste. So, but now that I got everything cleared out, I'm ready to hang the rest of my ram. So what I do is I take these meat hooks, and then you cut a little slit in the bottom of the shank, just big enough to put the hook through. And then you just find a place on the rack to hang it. And you want to make sure everything's spaced good so that it has good airflow.
What is that?
This is the shoulder, the front end of the animal. So I'll hang the two shoulders. I'll try to space them so there's a little bit of space so they can air in between. Now I got the rib. This is the whole side, and the ram's a fairly long animal, so I'll try to hang it so it will fit in here without dragging the bottom. And if it drags the bottom, I have to adjust the hook on it. There. Stretch. There's the other rib. And next I'm going to hang the hind shanks, which is about the meatiest part of the animal. You see there's a huge chunk of meat here, and it's absolutely delicious and wonderful.
And how long will that keep in your fridge?
All this, you know, I could keep it in there for a couple of months at this temperature and humidity, and it just depends on how well aged you like it. You know, I eat it as I go, and I really don't pay much mind because the fresher meat has a good quality. I love, you know, the first few days after a butchered animal, the blood in it still has this life force in it that just invigorates you. And then after it starts to age, bacteria begin to work on it, and it gives it a different property, a different quality. So my thinking is that if you eat the animal throughout the whole process of this decomposition or aging, that you get all the qualities. You know, in the early stages, the life force of the living animal. In the later stages, you know, the bacteria benefits when the bacteria start to break it down. So I think in order to have a well-rounded, diet, it works for me to eat a little bit of aged meat along with the fresh meat. Get the other. Here's the other shank. I'll adjust the hook on it so that it's a little lower. All this animal fat makes it a little slick on the hands. And now, the torso. Hey, Joanne.
Hey, I'm gonna measure something.
Okay, just stay away from the carnage. This guy here is a really big guy, much larger than my others. So I'll just hang him front and center and see if he closes. If not, I'll have to move him back. Nope, works. And then I'll set the head, and it takes a little bit of time and effort to skin the head out, so I'll do that a little later, but it'll be good. And,
especially on Thanksgiving, huh?
Right, that's when we're going to cut open the brain and pass it around the table. And then the tongue and the eyeballs, and you can get a little bit of meat out of the cheeks. And then on the underside, it has some glands and fatty tissue. That's, it's all edible, and there's no reason that this should be thrown away. But typically, most butchers throw these away because of irrational fears of eating brains and whatever type of disease the animal might have. But since I'm pretty assured that this animal is healthy, then there should be nothing on this animal that I should feel uncomfortable eating. And here he is. And then the trays of organs. I have his liver right here. So I'll typically eat most of this in the next few days while it's still fresh, and then I'll hang what's left on a hook and let age and eat a piece at a time over the next couple of weeks.
How long do the organs meat go bad sooner than the other meat?
Yeah, the liver has enzymes in it and glycogen and sugars that seem to break down much faster than the other tissues. So if you don't eat that right away, it will decompose. But even though it decomposes, if you do hang it in the fridge and it has open air, it will age a lot more slowly, and you can preserve it for a lot longer. And typically I prefer to refrigerate my meat and rather than freeze it. And this is one of the best ways that I know of preserving meat for long term without having to freeze it. And then a big tray of fat.
What's that taste like?
It doesn't have much flavor. It's mostly like a clean, buttery texture, but the flavor is very, very mild, and you can barely detect it. It's really, really good. And then testicles. And these are usually, better eaten fresh, but they'll stay good if they're in the open air for a couple weeks.
Rams have some of the largest testicles in the world, don't they?
I know, because they're pretty much breeding machines. Like, you can set one ram out, and it can do the job of 30. So that's that. And so concludes how to butcher your own ram.